Okay, good morning, all of you. So in the last class, we were talking about transaction, complete transaction we are discussing. And this session, we are going to talk about a little more on transaction, especially transaction recovery, and then save points and isolation levels. Okay, so these are the three major topics we are going to discuss in this session. First, let's talk about what is a transaction and then what is a transaction recovery when we require a recovery. Okay, so when we need a recovery, and who is doing the recovery in the database management system, right? So in what are the circumstances the recovery is must, and what about the save point, where the save point is used, and what are the different isolation levels are there. So that is the these are the points we are going to discuss here. Now, so to start with, to understand what you mean by a transaction, so we have a simple example here. Generally, in the database management system or in the program, a transaction will be starting with some statement, right? So transaction begins, and then the completion or end point of the transaction is denoted or mentioned with transaction ends, right? We actually studied this also in the previous classes. That is begin transaction and end transaction. So that means in between begin transaction and end transaction, what are the statement we have given? So those statements are taken as a SQL statement, especially for transaction purpose. Okay. So in this example, what we are trying to do is just we are going to send some amount from one account to the another account, right? So here we have two types of accounts are there. One is saving account, another one is checking account, right? So here from the saving account, you are deducting 500 from the balance, and then the condition is given here where the account number is 3209, and the 500 is going to be deposited or will be paid to the another account, that is checking account, where balance equal to balance plus 500. Okay, so that here the account number is different, that is 3208. So what you are trying to do here is you are taking some 500 amount from the available balance of from the account number 3209, and you'll be depositing that is transferring the amount to the another account, that is 3208, which is a checking account. Okay, so this is what we are doing here. So this is one type of transaction you can see as an example, and you can see here also decrement saving account and incrementing the checking account. There are two things are happening in the single transaction. Okay, so this actually everything is comes under one single transaction. And once the increment is over in the checking account, then insert into journal values, journal sequence, and the next value 1B, and then 3209 from the source account, 3208 is the destination account, and what is the amount? Okay, 500. So this actually, we already talked about what is a journal, right? It is a log file. Journal is nothing but the log file that we store all the transaction details in the certain format. Okay, we studied what is the format we use in the transaction log file. That is with the transaction ID, what is the value is being used, everything is included in the transaction details. Okay, so that will be saved in the log file or in the transaction journal file. So you can see here journal underscore sequence dot next value. That means a particular value is being generated for this particular transaction, and this is the transaction ID 1B, and this is the source transaction, that is source account or the source place, and then this is the destination, and this is the value. Okay, so then once this set of statements are executed, and final one is commit work. Okay, or simply commit you can give. So this to end the transaction. Okay, so this actually a simple steps or simple read and write or simple transaction steps are involved in this particular example. That is transaction begins up to the transaction ends. You can see a set of update statement and then insert statement are used. Okay, so this is how we'll just understand a simple transaction. And here let's discuss what in a transaction. Generally a transaction. Okay, even this point we already studied. a transaction is actually a logical unit of database processing, which is used to access the data. Okay, so it is a logical unit, right? So logical unit in the sense whatever the statement, whatever the SQL command that you are going to use for a particular transaction will be logically related with each other. Okay, so here you can see here that is a transaction consists of a collection of DML statements that form a logical unit of work for the application, right? So mostly we'll for a particular transaction, to write a transaction query, we'll be using DML statement. But apart from the DML statement, there are other DDL and then DCL statement also can be used, but that is with very minimal level of usage. Okay, so that is also we are going to discuss in the next few slides. So I hope you can understand what it means by transaction. So in the transaction, when you perform any transaction, whatever the operations, we know already the basic two operations in any transaction will be read and write. Okay, so that we call as an operation. So all operations must be completed or none completed, so data remains in a consistent state for the application. So this is actually the first transaction property we studied, that is atomicity property. Okay, so whatever the transaction you are doing, so each and every transaction should be able to complete its full 100%. Otherwise, it should be revoked. That should be cancelled. Okay, so here, whatever the operation that you are performing during the transaction should be completed. Okay, so if it is not completed, so nothing should be updated in the data. Okay, so whatever the manipulations that are carried out in the data during the transaction, that should be eliminated, that should be cancelled. Then, so in the example you can see, in processing a transfer of money, the previous example only, in processing a transfer of money between bank account, both the withdrawal of money from the one account and deposit of money to the another account must be performed. So that is what we done in the previous example. Just you have taken some amount from one account and withdrawn some amount from the one account, and we try to deposit the same amount into the another account. Okay, so suppose if you take the previous example again, if you perform this particular transaction, or if this particular query, update saving account, set balance equal to balance minus 500, where account equal to some account number is given. Okay, so only this particular statement is executed, and this statement, if the statement is not executed, then you cannot perform the transaction. Okay, so here the point is that is, you cannot have a first action recorded in the database without the second action. So you are performing the first action, that is deducting the money from one account, and the second action you should be able to deposit. Okay, so then only you can complete the entire transaction, right? So that's what it means, right? The next point is the transactions can be classified into two categories. One is explicit and another one is implicit. Okay, there are two types of transaction you can have. First, we'll just see what is an explicit transaction. Suppose if you are writing any DML queries like select statement, insert command, and then update, delete. So these are the command if you are performing using the DML queries or DML commands, then definitely you should use some the control statement like commit, save point, and rollback statement. Okay, so once you use select statement or insert statement, update statement, or delete, and after using that particular statement to make it the transaction explicit, then you have to use the explicit command. Either you should commit, or maybe you can use the save point command, or and the rollback statement. So we are just going to discuss what you mean by commit and what you mean by save point and what you mean by rollback statement. Okay, then in the implicit transaction, how you are going to perform, the database management system itself automatically going to perform the particular transaction to be committed or rolled back. Okay, so generally this automatic transaction or the implicit transaction will be done by the database management system that you are using. Okay, so when you use a command like a DDL command or a DCL command. For example, if you are going to create a table, or you are going to alter the table, and you are going to alter drop the table. Okay. Suppose if you use any one of the DDL command, after using this DDL command, automatically it will be committed or it will be done implicitly. Okay. So after using this particular statement, there is no need to either use the commit or rollback or something like that, right? Suppose if you don't want that particular effect to be cancelled, and maybe you can use it a rollback statement. Okay. And then suppose even if you use a data control language command, either grant or revoke statement, the implicit transaction will be performed automatically, right? I hope you will be able to understand. Suppose if you use a DML command, then you have to do it explicitly. And suppose if you are using DDL related command and DCL related command, that will be performed automatically. That we call as a implicit transaction. Okay. Then the data transaction related concept, the transaction begins when the first executable SQL statement or begin transaction is executed. That's what I told you in the initial example. Whenever you start any transaction, there will be a statement called begins transaction or exec begin. So it's based on the language that you are going to use. Okay. So generally, for our understanding, what we say here is begin transaction will be denoting the starting point of your transaction. Okay. Then once the transaction is being started, and there are other various reasons the transaction gets end. Okay. So suppose for the successful completion of your transaction, if you say commit, then whatever the data is been modified for a particular transaction, so all the data will be modifications will be done completely, that is permanently, right? When you use commit command. So commit is will be doing all whatever the changes or whatever the manipulations you have done with the data, so that will be made permanently in the database. Okay. So that is what the commit command will be using, right? So once you use the statement, especially the DML command, you have to use commit command to final updation into the databases. Okay. So suppose if you don't want that particular transaction to be taken place in the databases, and then what you can do, you can use the rollback command. Okay. So rollback will be cancelled all the transaction. So knows how far it is completed, a particular transaction, even if it is how far it is completed. When you use the rollback, whatever the modification or whatever the manipulation done by the particular transaction everything will be cancelled. Okay, that's what we call as a rollback, right? So here DDL or DCL statement executes automatic commit. So that's what I told you in the previous slide. When you use the DDL command or the DCL command, it will be using auto commit. Okay, the databases will be doing auto commit there. And suppose if the user exits, okay, so for example, if the user is interacting or working with a particular transaction, and maybe the user maybe exit the particular transaction or the application abruptly without fulfilling or without waiting for the transaction to be completed, in that case also the transaction will get ends. Okay, so there are two possibilities for the transaction: it is successful completion or a total failure. Okay, so the transaction should be carried out or should be performed 100%, or otherwise it should be cancelled, everything, that is it should be undone, right? So that's about the only two conditions we have, right? So it based on the user performance or user accessibility with the particular transaction. If the user exits with successful completion, and then the transaction will get over. Otherwise, if the user exits with abrupt termination, then the particular transaction will get cancelled. So other chances are system crashes. Sometimes the transaction will get over or will be cancelled at the time of system crashes. So maybe if you're using any computers or any other network system or any other communication devices, okay, so anything. So even if power failure, anything disturbs the transaction will get over. Okay, so after one transaction ends, a new transaction starts automatically with the next SQL statement. So for example, if you have the set of state transaction, and maybe a particular transaction will be executed successfully or unsuccessfully, it doesn't matter. Then once the particular transaction gets over, and the system or the DBMS will start executing the remaining set of statements to be executed. And what are the advantages of using transaction? Okay, so the transaction ensures data consistency. So consistency, as you know, it is a stability. Okay, so data stability. That means when a transaction takes place, and at the end of the transaction, the successful completion and whatever the manipulation or whatever the modification is done with the data by the transaction will be available, will be stable. Okay, so it actually ensures the data consistency. And other things are groups logically related operations into one unit. Okay, there will be multiple reads and multiple write and then update, insert. So all those statements can be grouped in under a single transaction. Okay, so at the same time, you can do more number of read operation and write operation. Okay, so whatever the operations are required to fulfill the particular transaction, so everything can be grouped as a logical unit. And the third point is it allows preview of data changes before making changes permanent. Suppose if the user wants to check what are the modifications are done with the data for a particular transaction, and the current user will be able to see the changes. Okay, so before it is going to change the permanent, or before issuing the commit statement, the user will be able to check all the modifications done with the data by the transaction. Okay, so that is also possible here. And here we'll just try to understand what will be a save point, what is a commit, okay, what is a rollback from this example diagram. Here the first one is you have the insert, update, insert and delete. It actually a transaction. A single transaction is having multiple statement, that is insert statement, update statement, insert and delete statement. Okay, suppose if you just consider this as a transaction, and you can see here this one is final, one is commit, and then here you have a save point A and then save point B, right? So here save point is maybe the intermediate point where you want to suppose perform a rollback, will be rollback up to a certain point or certain point in the transaction. Okay, so in the save point, when you use the save point, when you perform the rollback, it will not cancel the entire transaction. Okay, the very recently performed read and write operation will be cancelled when you use the rollback. Okay, or when you use the save point. Okay, so for example here, whatever the insert command is performed, up to that it is just going to have the saving, that is all the data will be saved here. Okay, intermediately, right? It is not committed, the value is saved intermediately. Then if you perform update and insert, and then up to this save point B, if you create a save point B here, up to this whatever you have done with the particular transaction or with the particular data, and all the modifications will be saved here intermediately, right? And then here you can see here roll back to save point B. Suppose if you execute this command, roll back to save point B, that is from this point. Okay, so you are performing the delete, and from this point you are performing roll back to save point B. Suppose if you perform this command, what will happen? The last command you performed, that is delete, will be revoked, that will be cancelled, and whatever the data is available up to this point, up to insert, after the completion of the insert, up to this whatever the data is been modified, so up to this point you can get it back. Okay, so it is actually intermediate level, right? You are just only cancelling the delete operation by invoking rollback to save point B. That means your transaction is just going back to one undo operation. Okay, so it is actually done one undo operation, and the up to this stage it is now it is available. Okay, then suppose if you perform rollback to save point A, right? So from this point, from the delete point, suppose if you perform the rollback to save point A, what will happen here? So whatever you have, the data is done with update statement and insert statement and delete statement. All these three statements will be cancelled, and the data, whatever the updation is done up to the insert command, that means this particular point. Okay, so up to this point, whatever the transaction is updated, whatever the changes have done with the data up to this point, then your transaction, your data will be revoked back to up to this particular point. Okay, so you are just you are not canceling the entire transaction permanently. Instead, you'll be canceling the transaction step by step. Okay, so up to certain point. I hope you will be able to understand, right? So here the first one is rollback to save point B. Up to the save point B, you are just canceling the transaction. And when you invoke this particular command, rollback to save point A, and you are canceling the transaction up to this particular point, save point A, right? And the next one is rollback. When you say simply rollback, the entire transaction will get canceled. Okay, so from this arrow mark, you can easily understand. So it actually stops with this point, and here this one, second one, it stops with this particular point. And when you say rollback, the entire transaction get cancelled. Okay, so what will happen here when you perform the rollback, complete rollback? So the data will be revoked back, or will be retained back, retained with the original values. Okay, so before the transaction starts, what is the values was there in the particular data item will be retained back. Okay, so that is what we will try to understand from this diagram. Here, control transaction, you can use commit, save point, and rollback. So these are the three commands you can use to control the transaction. So save point is not SQL, standard SQL. So that is, when you use the SQL statement, all the database management system will not be providing save point. It is actually vendor specific. Okay, this particular command is not specification of your standard SQL. It is one of the additional features of SQL. So you can use this particular command, save point. And so here the implicit transaction processing. So we already spoke about this. In the implicit transaction processing, this will be performed by the database management system itself. Okay, so there is no need to give extra or additional commit or that is rollback commands. Okay, so here automatic commit occurs under the following circumstances when DDL and DCL statements are used. Okay, so if you are using mostly DML related command, then you have to do it explicitly. That's what we talked about already. What is implicit and what is explicit? The implicit state transaction statement, we generally prefer, will see data definition language and data control language. Okay, so then other point is the normal exit from SQL star plus without explicitly issuing commit or rollback. So SQL star plus is one of the environment where you can use your SQL commands from the command prompt, as well as it is a kind of environment where you can do PL SQL related programs. Okay, so there is one more version. What you can do, you can use PL bar SQL. There is one more option is there. So those type of programming you can do from the SQL star plus environment. Okay, it is a kind of IDE where you can do your SQL statement from the prompt, right? So suppose if you work in the SQL star plus environment, if you close the SQL star plus environment, then automatically it is actually issuing a commit or rollback. Okay, so this is all the automatic commit statement, right? So automatic rollback occurs under an abnormal termination. Suppose if you properly close the SQL star plus state environment after completing all your work with all the transaction completed, then it will be commit. Okay, so otherwise it is just going to terminate, roll back your entire transaction when you abruptly close your SQL star plus environment. Okay, and so what are the state of data before commit or rollback? Okay, so before commit, what is the condition? What is the state of the data? And after the rollback, what is the state of the data? First, you need to understand what is the state of the data. Okay, so we are just talking about the data. What is the value associated, or what is the value available for that particular data in a particular point of time? You can call it as a state of the data. Okay, for example, in the bank transaction, suppose if your bank balance is about 5,000. Okay, your bank balance is 5,000. Now the state of the data is 5,000. Suppose if we deduct about 1,000 from your 5,000, then after the deduction, the account balance will become 4,000. Okay, so now the value has been changed from 5,000 to 4,000. Now what happens? your state of the data, that is your account balance value, is changed from 5,000 to 4,000. Okay, so in that way you can understand it as a state of the data. And here, state of data at the end of last explicit or implicit transaction can be recovered. So when you use your rollback, right? So when you, especially when you use your rollback command, so what is the last updated value for your data can be recovered. And then other things, other points are the current user, okay, can review the current state of the data changed by the DML operations by using the select statement. So for example, if I am the current user, I am using one transaction, okay. So obviously I'll be using some DML commands to perform my transaction. And once my transaction is over and whatever the data is being changed by the transaction, that can be viewed by myself. Okay, so the current user who has logged in, who is currently working in a with a particular transaction, will be able to see the status or the state of the data. Okay, so the other person or the other user cannot interfere my transaction. For example, I'm using transaction T1 and with the DML commands. So after the transaction T1, maybe some data would have changed due to the transaction, and those changes will be viewed by myself. Okay, so that using the select statement, right? So generally the select statement will be using to see what is available in the table or in the data, okay, in the database content, right? So with the condition or without condition, okay, so with selective field or rows, anything you can give in the select statement. Okay, so there just you are seeing what are the updations have done, that can be viewed by the current user, right? The other users cannot see the result of DML statement by the current user, because whatever the transaction I'm doing with the database, all those records and all those data will be locked by my transaction, whereas the other transaction will not be able to interfere. Okay, so changed rows are locked. Other users cannot change the data within the affected rows. That's what it means. So for example, if I perform the transaction T1, if the table rows 1, 3, 4, 5, okay, 1, 3, 4, 5, these are the rows I'm accessing, right? So I'm doing some manipulations with these rows 1, 3, 4, 5. So at the point of time, the other user will not be allowed to access the same record 1, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so if I am using, my transaction is using 1, 3, 4, 5 that is records or the rows, then those records or those rows will be locked. Okay, so those rows will not be available for the other users, right? So that is why we studied about concurrency control. Able to understand? So in the concurrency control mechanism, if you are using, if the transaction or if the user is using one particular row or a particular set of data, and those data will be locked. We studied what are the different types of locks in deadlock also. Okay, so the other users cannot interfere in those set of rows or those set of data. Okay, so that is the main job of concurrency control. And so let's talk about what is a recovery. The recovery manager is responsible for ensuring atomicity and durability. So recovery manager is one of the important module available in the all the database management system, which is taking care of all the recovery process. Okay, so we already spoke about what is a recovery and why the recovery is needed. Okay, so the other term is concurrency control, right? So there are two ways you can understand this. So here mainly the recovery manager is responsible for ensuring atomicity and durability of whatever the transaction we are performing. Okay, we know what we mean by atomicity and what is a durability. Atomicity, that is each and every transaction should be performed if to its full completeness, or otherwise it should not be completed at all or should not be performed at all. And then durability, so when you perform certain transaction with the data, once you commit or once the transaction is over, and then the data should be updated properly. Okay, this for any reason, for the subsequent transaction should be able to get the same data. Okay, the data should not be deleted, or the data should not be not available. Okay, so there you are ensuring the availability of the data even after the transaction is completed. Okay, so that's what we call as a durability. And what are the types of failure? This also we have discussed in the previous topics. So due to system crash, and then transaction failures, media failures, and natural disasters. Okay, so system crashes, as you know already, transaction failures during the transaction, there will be different reasons, some exceptions, okay, some logical errors. So that is a possibility for transaction failure, and then network failure, something like that you can say, and then media failures, maybe whatever the media, whatever the network, and whatever the system. So everything if you are using, and due to that failure, so there is a chance for the transaction failure. Okay, so natural disaster we already studied. Okay, all sort of calamities leads to a failure of a transaction. And so here in the recovery, so we talk about isolation level. Isolation, you know what it means by isolation. You are separating one transaction with the other transaction. Okay, there should not be any interference between the transaction, right? Suppose in a database management system, there are multiple transactions will be performed, and each and every transaction should be isolated. Okay, that we studied in ACID property isolation. Okay, ACID isolation we studied, right? That is, until a particular transaction completes its work or commits the entire transaction, the other transaction should not interfere, should not know what is happening in the another transaction. Okay, so able to understand, right? So here isolation level, there are different isolation level you can use here to especially you can implement in the multi-user environment. Okay, if more number of users are using multiple transactions, then you can avail this isolation level, right? So here, when you apply the isolation concept, it prevents lost update, dirty read, non-repeatable read, and phantoms. So lost update and dirty reads we studied already. So last update, suppose if any particular data item is been accessed by two transactions, if the data item is not properly updated, then it is called a lost update. Okay, so when two transactions attempt to update the same data item, suppose if you don't have the proper concurrency control, there is a possibility that two transactions will be attempting to access the same data item. In that case, a particular transaction will not update it properly. There is a possibility. Okay, so then the dirty read. So a particular, if even the same scenario, a particular transaction might read the intermediate data. Okay, so before updating properly in the database, the another transaction might get the intermediate data. For example, you have T1 and T2, it is accessing X value. Okay, so the X initial value is 50, and after transaction T1 is modifying the X value, it is changed to 60. Okay, so now the 60 should be updated, and for that it should be invoke the commit command. So before proper updation, if the transaction T1 got failed, then it should be revoked back to 50. Okay, but here in the dirty read, that will not happen. So the new value, that is 60, will be still available with the transaction T1 and then the particular data item X, and instead of reading 50, the transaction T2 will read as 60. Okay, so hope you will be able to understand, right? So this point we have already discussed. And non-repeatable reads, when a transaction reads the same query multiple times and the results are not the same each time. So each and every time the results will not be same, even the transaction performing same transaction perform multiple time. Okay, that is non-repeatable read. So each and every time the transaction, that is the data, will be keep on changing. If that is the case, then it is called non-repeatable reads. And phantoms, this is another, maybe you will get 2 more questions. So when a row of data matches the first time, but does not match subsequent times. Suppose if you set a query, a select query, something like some data manipulation query with some condition, right? So you'll be accessing some set of data, right? Say a row of data. For example, some set of tuples you are getting based on the condition, and the data matches the first time. Okay, the first time when you execute the condition, it is going to match, and then the very next time if you come, the same condition does not match. Okay, the phantom, when a row of data matches the first time but does not match the subsequent times. Okay, so even if you repeatedly accessing or using the same set of transaction, the condition will not match there. So if you meet this type of condition, then you can call it as a phantoms. And the next one is the state of data after commit. So what will happen after the commit? Once the commit command is issued, then data changes made permanent in the database. So after executing the transaction, if you use the commit command, so whatever the manipulation or whatever the modifications have done for the particular data, that will be changed permanently in the database, and the previous state of data is permanently lost. Okay, the whatever the data previous is available, that will be lost. New data will be updated, and all users can view the result. Okay, so after the commit only, all the users can view the result, right? And logs on the affected rows are released. So once the commit is over, and then the other locking, okay, so the entire lock will be released. We studied in this in the deadlock, and all save points are erased. So when during the execution of the transaction, there will be multiple save points are there. Once the commit is over, final commit is over, the save points will be erased. Okay. Next one, committing data. So here we'll see how the commit command is working. So make changes to data using DML. Suppose, before we invoke the commit command, we'll do some manipulation with the data using data manipulation language. So here in this example, update employees. Employees is the table name. Set department ID equal to 90, where EMP underscore number equal to 103. So when you execute this command, one row will be updated. You are updating one row in the employee table. And here, to make the commit, to make the changes permanent, what we'll do, we'll execute the commit command after this. Okay, so when you execute commit, COMMIT, commit command, then you can see commit complete. That means the row that you have updated in the employee table will be made permanent change. Okay, so this is how the commit command will do, right? So to make the changes permanently in the databases, we'll use the commit command. And next one, state of data after rollback. Okay, so we have seen what is a commit and what is a rollback. We already said what is a rollback, and here discards all pending changes by using the rollback statement. So whatever the changes have done during the transaction with all the data items, so everything will be cancelled. Okay, that everything will be discarded when you use the rollback statement here. Okay, we'll just see the example, right? So state of data at time of last commit or implicit transaction is restored. So before that, is there any previous commit was there, or otherwise any other implicit transaction was there? So up to that, the transaction will be there, and remaining things will be discarded. Okay, the current data changes will be undone. So after the commit, last commit, or after the implicit transaction, what are the modification or what are the changes have done during the transaction, that will be cancelled. Okay, so locks on affected rows are released. So what are the rows are affected by this command will be released, because it is actually rolled back, so that the other data items can be released. Okay, so here delete from employees, so you are deleting the content of the employee, so it is 20 rows are deleted. Okay, you are not dropping, you are deleting the employee table. Okay, so the delete will remove all the content of your employee table. Okay, so it is not going to delete the entire database or entire table. Instead, it is just going to remove only the content or the data in the table. Okay, so now when you execute delete from employee, 20 rows are deleted, and immediately after that, when you execute the command rollback, so rollback complete. Now what will happen? So whatever the data is been deleted from the table, that will be retained. So you'll be getting it back again. Okay, so now the delete is undone. So now after executing the rollback, the employee table will contain all 20 rows of data. Okay, so rolling back changes to a marker. So here rollback, we already said what is the difference between rollback and that is save point. Okay, rollback with save point and rollback, right? So here a save point is a kind of marker, a point where you want to get it back. Okay, it is actually intermediate state. Okay, intermediate stage of your entire transaction, right? So create a marker in a current transaction by using the save point statement. So it will be acting working as a indicator or a marker at a stopping point. Okay, so roll back to that marker by using the rollback to save point statement. Right, now you can see the example. So you have just executed some update command, And after the executing the update command, you will be invoking save point update underscore done. Okay, so here update underscore done is the save point name. Okay, in the previous example, we say save point A, save point B. Similar to that, we have to give the save point name also. Okay, then only the system can understand in which, up to which particular point the revoking or committing should be run. Okay, that is a rollback can be done, right? So here you are creating the save point, and then you are performing some insertion, and again you are performing you are giving rollback to update done. That means what? You are canceling the only insert. Okay, whatever then it is done with the insertion will be cancelled, and it is just going back to what the data is there up to after executing the command update. Okay, so rollback complete. And what is the statement level rollback? So if a single DML statement fails during execution, only that statement is rollback. Okay, so if you are using multiple DML statement, and if it is only one DML statement is got failed, and that particular statement alone is going to roll back. Okay, there is one statement rollback. And the Oracle server implements an implicit save point. So we already said, like some of the the database management system will be using automatic, that is implicit save point, especially when you're using DDL and DCL related commands. The implicit save point and implicit commits will be done. Okay, so all other changes are retained. So when you do the the rollback, and whatever the changes you are done, that will be retained. Okay, so you are getting back to the previous stage. And the user should terminate transaction explicitly by executing a commit or rollback statement. Suppose if you want to have a successful completion of your transaction, you should execute a commit statement. Suppose if you don't want a particular transaction to be done, or if you want to eliminate or cancel the particular transaction, you can give the rollback command. Okay, so this is a summary. In the summary, you can see there are three main points: commit, save point, and rollback. So the commit will make all the pending changes permanent. After executing all your SQL statement, DML statement, when you perform commit, so the changes will be done permanently. So whatever the changes are pending, that will be changed permanently. And save point allows a rollback to the particular save point marker. So up to the intermediate state or intermediate level of your transaction, you can revert it back. Okay. Then rollback, it is just going to discard all the pending data changes. Whatever the transaction is performed some changes in the data item, so all the changes will be undone, discarded, and it is going to reach the initial state. Okay, so that's all.
Hey there, subscribe to my channel and also press this bell icon.